It's the weekly show about Pro AV with the hottest news in the AV industry. It's rAVe TV. Give it up for Steph and Gary. Steph and Gary.
Good afternoon, everybody, and happy Wednesday. This is rAVe TV, the industry's only weekly Pro AV completely live TV show. I am Steph Beckett, one of your regular hosts. As you might be able to tell, the other regular host is not joining us this episode. He is on a plane right now. And as it turns out, next week I will be on a plane. So then he's going to host next week by himself. So that is why he is somewhere. And then next week I will be somewhere coming back from vacation. So we're very excited. But continuing on, this is probably going to be a little bit of a shorter episode, as it usually turns out when I am just talking about the stories myself. But thank you for joining anyway. So first thing I wanted to point out is that the 12th Reader's Choice Awards, which is our 2023 edition, those are open for nominations. So we are calling for all of you AV Tweeps to scan that QR code, go to that story, and nominate some of your favorite manufacturers, products, distributors, favorite people in the industry, and more. Of course, we broke it up into a few sections this year because it's a little bit easier to read. You don't have to scroll a million times to find the section that you want. And you don't have to nominate for every section. If you just have really one or two products or manufacturers in mind, that is completely okay. But it is totally important to us for you to nominate because these are for you, by you. We don't want to command any of this at all. This is completely reader operated. So please, please, please make sure to go and nominate. These will be open, I want to say, until March 31st. And then voting opens April 6th on my birthday. So, happy birthday to me. Vote for Reader's Choice Awards. Continuing on, as Gary and I talk about every week, we are very grateful and thankful for the sponsors and partners we have on this show. One of our sponsors is Legrand AV, and they wanted me to tell you guys a little bit about the Digital Signage Trends and Solutions ebook that they have out right now. It's completely free. All you have to do is scan the QR code, fill out your information, and then I think you get it via email. But it's all about digital signage design uses for QSR, outdoor, corporate, retail, and more. Legrand AV, as Gary mentions, they are a glue company, so they're kind of in a really great position to mention and feature emerging trends in all of the above use cases. So make sure to go check out that ebook by scanning the QR code. So speaking of outdoor and all of the above, you have 2 days left to answer our March 2023 temperature check survey. It takes less than 5 minutes, and for less than 5 minutes of your time for answering a few quick questions about outdoor AV, you could be one of 2 winners of a $50 Amazon gift card, which is honestly a very great deal, So go and fill that out. You have 2 days left. So if you haven't done it yet, go and take your 5 minutes and do it. And I hope that you win. Continuing on, once again, we are very grateful for our sponsors and partners, and another one of those is Aver Pro AV, and they wanted me to mention to join them, Starin, Yamaha, and Barco for a Grand Slam happy hour at Buffalo Bayou Brewing. That's in Houston, Texas. It's going to be March 23rd from 4 to 8 p.m. local time. It is completely free to register, so beer is going to be flowing. There are going to be really great contests there, including one where you can win 2 Astros game tickets and custom jerseys. So go ahead and scan that QR code and get yourself there. I would if I could, but unfortunately I will not be in this country. Or maybe I will, but I won't be able to go. So you should go. And I hope that you win that as well. But continuing on, as usual, we have a fun guest so that it wouldn't just be me talking at you guys. So this week, our guest is Brian Radigan, Director of Business Development for Exartis Alamo. Welcome.
Hi, Steph. Thanks. Happy to be here. Spend a little time of my day with you guys today.
Yeah, we're very, very happy that you wanted to join us on this episode. So you wrote a piece that we published on ravepubs.com. It went live this morning, and the piece is on 5 factors for considering a new projector. And this is all kind of aimed at integrators, because if you are speccing a projector, it's very important to be able to pick the right one, as there are many options out there, right?
Absolutely. It is aimed at integrators, but also towards their end user clients, and basically the discussions they need to be having with the client to determine the appropriate product for the particular application. Typically, the first thing that somebody's going to think about with the projector is the brightness, and that probably is one of, if not the most important specifications of a projector in order to produce an image that's acceptable. As a matter of fact, Avixa has set standards for projected images, and specifically to achieve 15:1 contrast ratio for an acceptable image for viewing. Does that happen every time? Ideally, you would hope it does, but sometimes it's not in the budget, or there are other factors that can affect that. But surprisingly, that can be, it seems to be kind of this voodoo art right now about selecting a projector. So often we get requests like, nah, I need a projector around 5,000 lumens, but how is that qualified? And there is mathematics that you can use and a specific formula to determine the required brightness to achieve that contrast ratio. But the key factor, believe it or not, that the one piece of information that's critical to determine that is a light measurement at the screen area in either lux or foot candles. And surprisingly enough, I'd say 9 times out of 10 we don't have that. But so we have to then rely on voodoo art. But typically we try and get in the ballpark. But anyway, enough about brightness. There are certainly several other things that you need to consider when looking at projectors, and that's what this piece was focused on.
Yeah, so I wanted to ask, like, what was your inspiration for writing this piece? Is it just kind of because you so often can't find that perfect situation in which a projector just goes without any voodoo art, as you called it?
Well, projection technology is near and dear to my heart. Obviously, I'm with Exertis Almo. We are a big distributor of projectors and projection technology. And personally, I work very closely with some of our projection partners in the industry. So it's a topic that I care quite a bit about. And yes, it's something that it's a technology that's been around forever. It's certainly not new, although there are constantly advancements in this area, just as in any other area of technology. And there are new people entering the industry all the time too. So whenever you put something out, it's really hard to know exactly who your audience is. You could be, you could have somebody reading that's been doing this for 30 years, right, and you could have somebody doing that just got in the industry a week ago. Right. But I think regardless of how long you've been doing this, some of the topics that I talk about here are going to be relevant no matter what. And so kind of the main impetus for me putting this together was just kind of to reinforce these discussions that need to be taking place with clients.
Right. Is there a most important factor to consider? Like, is it maybe whether you want really saturated color or really black blacks, or where the projector is being placed in the room or space, or how many people are going to be viewing the projected content? Like, is there really a most important thing?
These were the key things that came to mind as kind of the most important. If I had to pick one of the 5 topics that I talked about here in the piece, I would probably say resolution, and more specifically aspect ratio. PMA is an organization that aggregates data for products sold through across all distributors in our industry. It was a statistic when I looked at, they reported that 75% of the projectors sold through all distributors were in a 16:10 aspect ratio. And that's driven primarily by computer resolutions like WUXGA and WXGA. Contrary to that statistic, almost always when we get asked for a projector, we get asked for 16:9. And I think, there's tons of 16:9 content out there. Mm-hmm. And of course, that's the primary aspect ratio in the consumer world. So some of that is consumer driven. But so much content in the commercial world is driven by computers. So we get asked for a 16:9 projector, or somebody selecting a new projector and a new screen at the same time. and they select a 16 by 10 projector because the majority of them are in the commercial space, and then they ask for a 16 by 9 screen. So we always have to have that discussion. Well, you can do that because just about any of these projectors can project in a 16 by 9 mode, but you want to have the screen and the projector's native output match whenever at all possible.
Right.
So it's just one of these things that we deal with, and a lot of times you may have mixed content, right? So and there could be multiple schools of thought on this, but my feeling on that is if you're going to have both 16:9 and 16:10, is to go with the 16:10 to be native with the projector. And even if you were to show 16:9 content, you have two options. You can letterbox it where you have kind of the black bars at the top and the bottom of the image, or you can scale it to fill the entire screen. And because the difference between 16:9 and 16:10 is not that significant, it's not going to make your people's faces look really all funny and stretched and everything like you would if you took a 4:3 image and widened it across 16 by 9. So I would say of the 5 topics I discussed, that I would place the most importance with that one, but the other 4 are important as well.
Something I learned reading through this was that you said that 4:3 projectors are actually still made, and I did not completely realize that.
Yeah,
So,
a lot of that's coming out of education in the education world.
Sense.
Yeah, like legacy screens. I mean, even yesterday, I got asked for a big, like a very high bright projector with interchangeable lens, and they were shooting it on a 4:3 screen. So, I typically would open that conversation would you be open to kind of upgrading the screen at this time too? But certainly there is a small market that still for 4:3 and XGA.
Is there a truly best overall projector or projector technology? Like, for instance, I know that we don't really use lamp-based projectors anymore. Is there a best one for every use case, or does it really just depend?
Hard to say best. Definitely at this point in time, if anybody's getting a new projector, it's almost a no-brainer to go with laser. That I can say with certainty. There are still some lamp-based projectors on the market, but just the overall cost of ownership, not having to replace lamps, it just makes total sense. Plus, most of the manufacturers are leaning towards kind of transitioning their entire line over to laser, and it will continue to do that for the next couple of years until lamp projectors probably aren't even made anymore. As far as the other items, I mean, it's somewhat subjective. Everybody has their preference. I talk about, and I liken this to the days early in my career in AV in the early and mid 2000s. Everybody was like, "What's better, plasma or LCD?" Right? And you had your LCD camp and you had your plasma camp. So it's really hard because it is kind of subjective. There are some differences in the technology. With 3 LCD, typically you may see more vivid or saturated colors. With DLP, you may see better blacks, but the biggest thing has to do with the brightness when you contrast 3 LCD and DLP, specifically single chip DLP. Because of the single chip DLP and using the color wheel, when they specify a brightness in lumens for a single chip DLP projector, that specification is often made on a full white image, not showing any color. And once you introduce color into it via the color wheel, that can dramatically reduce the light output and the perceived brightness of the image. Whereas with 3 LCD, you don't have that. So you could have a 5,000 lumen 3 LCD projector and a 5,000 lumen single chip DLP projector side by side, with the possibility that the 3 LCD projector would appear significantly brighter. Can I say best? Yeah, that one I'll leave to the audience to decide.
Sounds good. Yeah, if you're watching on LinkedIn right now, make sure to tell us which one you think is best. I'm actually interested to see what people think. But continuing on, are there any other really important factors other than the ones you mentioned? I know you mentioned that there were 5 that were super important, but are there any others that an integrator or potentially end user or AV technology manager or anyone should take into consideration?
I would say the only other one that really kind of jumps out to me again is budget, right? I mean,
Yeah.
in a perfect world, you would get the perfect product that meets every specification needed for a particular application. But in reality, in a lot of cases, we're dealing with customers that have limited budget, with schools, with houses of worship, and so forth. So, budget, I would add to this list, and in that case, get the best possible that the customer can afford, right? If the Avixa formula states that you need a 15,000 lumen projector in order to achieve that 15:1 contrast ratio, but your budget is only going to afford you an 8,500 lumen projector, then that's what you go with.
Right. Well, last question I have for you is, where can people reach out to you if they have questions or want to talk more, and where can they find out more about Exertis Almo?
Sure. So as far as Exertis Almo, probably the best bet would be to visit our website, which is www.exertisalmo.com. And for anybody that would like to reach me directly, you feel free to email me. My email is bratigan, that's RHATIGAN, at exertisalmo.com.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for hopping on this episode of rAVe TV. It has been a pleasure to get to talk to you.
Thanks for having me, Steph. Likewise.
Of course. So continuing on, before I jump into a few of the latest, hottest news stories from the past week, we are going to show a little spot from our sponsor and partner, Shure. So let's jump into just a few of the news stories from the past week. So first of all, LG launched a new line, and this is an outdoor DV LED line that is designed specifically for cruise ships, which I think is very cool. So I don't know other than just being really ruggedized for outdoor. I think that there are a few extra things that they've included into this model to make it particularly good for cruise ships. But according to the piece on our website, it enables cruise ship owners and architects to design outdoor space DV LED displays of any size. So I think that's very cool. Very specific, but of course, there are going to be plenty of use cases for this out in the wild. So continuing on, pretty big acquisition news. Resideo acquired BTX Technologies. So now that company is going to be part of Resideo's ADI global distribution business, because as you might know, Resideo and ADI are one as well. So Gary K actually did a rants and raves about this, because as you know, the details of acquisitions can be a little bit confusing sometimes. So it's always great when he's able to sit down with people of both organizations or companies and pick their brains and learn a little bit more about the acquisition. So we have prepared a little snippet of the episode for you to get to watch. So check this out.
There's been a lot of consolidation, and Greg, I think y'all have been part of that change in many different ways, because you've helped bring a lot of the brands to the market that were smaller or unknown brands, and then you grew as the industry grew, and you are now part of the ADI family. Greg, talk about, is BTX going to be still called BTX, and how's that going to work?
BTX is still going to be called BTX, and we are going to operate as BTX, but we have the resources of a global company, ADI, to help us grow in the directions that we're going to be growing. And the really cool thing about ADI is, and you mentioned, BTX kind of being an engine for bringing new products to market. ADI really got that about us, and it was something that I really appreciated in our lengthy conversations over a long period of time. And that is going to continue to be fueled, and we're going to continue to do that type of work.
So, of course, you can watch that full episode if you scan the QR code, it will take you to all of the links we talked about on this episode, and you can scan that and watch the full thing. I think it's about 12 minutes long. So a very good episode and a fun watch and or listen. So last big news story I really wanted to mention this week is about Commercial Integrator Expo. I hope that I will see you guys there in Denver. That's going to be co-located with Cedia Expo. It's going to be September 6th through 9th, 2023. But I wanted to bring it up because in the past week, it was announced that there will be a content advisory committee. And this is kind of a committee of industry leaders, very like knowledgeable industry people who are going to ensure the quality and like educational wise of the topics that are going to be covered at the show. So it includes the likes of a few names that I think that you will recognize, like Megan A. Dutta, Mark Coxon, Dan Farisi, Alexis Lebroy, Tom LeBlanc, and there are plenty of other names. It is a really good committee. So I am looking forward to what they are going to put together for this show. Obviously, the first year of any trade show is kind of just a figuring out what's going on, but I have really high hopes for this and I'm very, very excited to attend. So speaking of trade shows, I think the next one that I'm going to cover is Enterprise Connect. I will be there March 27th through 29th with a small team, but the next big show, of course, is going to be InfoComm 2023. And this year it's going to be in Orlando. As you guys know, I'm always there. I never leave. That's my second home. So I am very much looking forward to seeing you guys this June. And if you want to go register at infocommshow.org and you use the code rAVE, you get free access onto the show floor. So all you have to do is get yourself there. But yeah, it's going to be a great 2023. I think if ISC was any indication, trade shows are completely back and it is going to be a wonderful year for AV. So I think that is about all I have prepared for this episode. I have a plane to catch later today to London. So I will go do that. And you guys have a great rest of your week. And don't forget, next week it's going to be Gary on his own. So make sure to tune in then as well. Same time, same place, Wednesday at noon Eastern. And of course, you can watch on LinkedIn, on ravepubs.com, on YouTube, on Facebook, and on Twitter. We are in all of the places completely live. So thank you so much. And we will see you next time. This has been another episode of Rave TV. Bye.
It's the weekly show about Pro AV with the hottest news in the AV industry. It's Rave TV. Give it up for Steph and Gary. Steph and Gary.